When I entered my husband Jason's study, the one he had kept locked for years, under the pretense of cleaning, I noticed a hidden door behind the bookshelf. The moment my fingers touched that thin seam, my heart pounded so hard it felt like it might burst out of my chest. And when I cracked the door open, I was hit with the biggest blow of my life. Laughter and a tender voice coming from inside, screaming at me that another family was living behind that door. In that instant, a cold whisper rose inside me. "Jason, what have you been hiding from me?" I froze. It felt as if the entire world had collapsed on top of me, and there was no air left to breathe. The thought that the man I'd shared a roof with for years, the man I trusted and leaned on, had built another life behind my back, pierced my brain like a nail. I pressed my ear to the door. The laughter multiplied, followed by a woman's low, gentle words. I couldn't make them out clearly, but there was warmth in them, tenderness, the voice of a mother. Goosebumps ran over my arms. I closed my eyes, clenching my fists. Maybe I'm imagining this, I tried to convince myself, but the sounds were so real, so close, that even my own heartbeat couldn't drown them out. Fear coiled inside me. Part of me wanted to fling the door wide open, while another part was terrified to death of what I might see on the other side. Jason's warnings echoed in my head. "Angela, don't ever go in that room. It's for your own good." But if this was for my good, then what was the name of the truth? My name is Angela. I'm 55 years old. I've spent most of my life in Chicago. From the outside, my life looked ordinary. A beautiful house, my husband Jason, whom I'd been married to for decades, and a quiet neighborhood. But if you asked me, nothing was as simple as it seemed. There had been oddities from the very beginning of our marriage. Sometimes he wouldn't come home for days. I couldn't reach him on the phone. And when he returned, there were always excuses waiting. My neighbors called me lucky because Jason was hardworking and respectable. But for years, I had noticed the secret shadows in his eyes, and most of all, the study. The day he told me never to enter that room, a question mark was planted in my mind. The strange unease I felt every time I walked past that door. Today, with the laughter I heard behind it, became real. What Jason had been hiding from me was a far greater secret than I'd ever imagined. My hands were still trembling on the door. The sounds from inside grew clearer. A child's laughter, this time unmistakable, as though they were running and playing inside the room. The woman's voice that followed shattered my heart. It was so familiar, so close. I had never had children in this house. For years, I'd carried that ache inside me. And now, hearing the laughter of a child behind Jason's secret door opened a wound in my soul that would never heal. Tears streamed down my face as I whispered to myself, "No, this is impossible. Maybe I'm imagining it. Maybe my mind is playing tricks on me." But then something happened. From the other side of the door, I felt a small hand touch the doorknob. A tiny click sounded, and my heart raced, tearing at my chest. I wanted to back away, but my feet felt glued to the floor. In just a few seconds, I would either open this door completely or never learn the truth hiding behind it. Finally, I gathered my courage and pushed the door open a little farther. The squeal of the hinge tore through the silence of the entire house. The air spilling out from inside was different, warm, alive, like the smell of a happy home. And then, my eyes couldn't believe what they saw. There was a small living room. The curtains were drawn, toys scattered across the floor. On a couch sat a young woman with a 4-year-old child in her lap. She turned her head toward me, and our eyes met. Her smile was so natural, so familiar, it stole my breath away. It was as if she had been living there for years, part of this house. The child opened their arms, clung tightly to the woman, and shouted, Mom! My knees went weak. What Jason had been hiding from me all these years was a betrayal bigger than I could have imagined. Yet one question still burned in my mind. Who was this woman? And why was she living with my husband behind a hidden door in our house? I stood frozen at what I was seeing. A laughing child in a mother's warm embrace. And that mother, a stranger to me, looking more like the real lady of the house than I did. Tears rolled down my cheeks as I tried to step back. But then the child's voice froze my whole body. Mom, when is Dad coming home? Dad. The word echoed in my head, over and over. That child called Jason Dad. Jason, my husband, the man who had shared my bed for years, was a father in another life. Then I heard a sound outside the door, the metallic clink of a key sliding into a lock. Jason was coming home. I stumbled backward in panic. My heart was about to explode. If he caught me here, everything would come out. And yet, maybe this was the only chance I had to hear the truth from him. Should I run? Or should I stay behind the door and watch Jason face the woman and the child with my own eyes? I stood there, completely frozen. The woman on the couch looked at me with eyes that held no surprise, no fear. Just a strange kind of sadness mixed with understanding, like she'd been waiting for this moment, like she knew this day would eventually come. "You must be Angela," she said softly, her voice calm and steady. My throat tightened. How did she know my name? My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. The little boy in her arms looked up at me with curious, innocent eyes, and that's when I saw it. Those eyes. That jawline. The way his hair fell across his forehead. He looked exactly like Jason. Who are you?" I finally managed to whisper, my voice cracking. The woman stood up slowly, settling the child on the couch beside her. She smoothed down her dress and took a small step toward me. "My name is Claire," she said, "and this is Ethan." Ethan. The name echoed in my head like a gunshot. Jason had a son I never knew existed. "How long?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "How long have you been living here?" Claire's eyes dropped to the floor. 7 years, she whispered. 7 years. 7 years. While I was upstairs cooking dinner, folding laundry, sleeping in our bed. This woman and this child were living just feet away, hidden behind a bookshelf. My legs finally gave out. I stumbled backward, catching myself on the doorframe. "This can't be real," I muttered. "This is insane. This is—" "I know how this looks," Claire interrupted gently. "But Angela, you need to hear the whole story, because nothing about this situation is what you think it is." Part 2. The impossible truth I wanted to run. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to turn around, leave that room, pack my bags, and never look back. But something held me there. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was the desperate need to understand how my entire life had been a lie. "Tell me," I said through clenched teeth. "Tell me everything, right now." Claire gestured to the couch. "Please sit down." "This is going to take a while." "I'll stand," I snapped. She nodded, accepting my anger. Little Ethan watched us both with wide eyes, sensing the tension but not understanding it. 8 years ago, Claire began, I was in a car accident. It was bad. Really bad. I was 6 months pregnant at the time. The doctors said both the baby and I would die if I didn't get emergency surgery, but... Her voice cracked. I had no insurance. No family. No way to pay for it. I wanted to feel nothing, to stay angry, but something in her voice made me listen. "Jason was the ER doctor that night," she continued. "He saved us. He performed the surgery even though the hospital administration told him not to. Said it was too risky, too expensive for someone who couldn't pay. He could have lost his license, but he did it anyway. My mind raced back 8 years. That was around the time Jason had that big investigation at the hospital. He'd told me it was nothing, just some bureaucratic nonsense. Was this what it was really about? After Ethan was born, Claire went on, I had nowhere to go. I was weak, recovering, with a newborn baby. Jason, he offered to help. Just temporarily, he said, until I got back on my feet. So you moved into my house? I spat. Behind a secret door? No, Claire said quickly. Not at first. He rented me an apartment across town. He helped me with baby supplies, medical bills. He was just being kind, but then... She paused, her face darkening. Then they came. Who came? I asked, my anger momentarily giving way to confusion. Claire's eyes filled with fear. The people I was running from. What people? I demanded. What are you talking about? Claire wrapped her arms around herself, like she was trying to hold herself together. Before the accident, I was in a bad situation, a very bad situation. I was engaged to a man named Marcus Devereaux. The name sent a chill down my spine. Even I had heard that name. Marcus Devereaux was connected to one of Chicago's most dangerous organized crime families. His face had been in the news multiple times over the years. You were engaged to Marcus Devereaux? I whispered, my anger now mixed with dread. She nodded. I was young and stupid. By the time I realized what he really was, it was too late. I tried to leave him, but Marcus doesn't let people go. When I found out I was pregnant, I knew I had to run. That's why I was driving that night. I was trying to get out of Chicago, get somewhere safe before the baby came. And the baby, I started, is his, Claire finished quietly. Marcus is Ethan's biological father. My head spun. This was getting worse by the second. When Marcus found out I survived the accident and had the baby, he started looking for me, Claire continued, her voice trembling. He has people everywhere. Cops, hospital workers, social services. Jason found out Marcus's men were tracking me down. They showed up at my apartment one night. What happened? Jason got there first, she said. He saw them breaking into my building. He grabbed Ethan and me and we ran. That's when he brought us here, to the only place he knew Marcus would never think to look. His own home, I whispered, the pieces finally starting to come together. Behind a locked door, his wife wasn't allowed to enter. Claire nodded, tears streaming down her face. I never wanted this, Angela. I begged Jason to call the police, to put me in witness protection, anything but this. But he said Marcus had too many connections, that the moment anyone official knew where I was, I'd be dead, and so would Ethan. I leaned against the wall, my mind trying to process everything. For 7 years, Jason had been protecting this woman and her child, lying to me every single day, coming home to me while another family lived just behind a wall. So, all this time, I said slowly, every night he said he was working late. Every weekend trip he said was a medical conference. He was here, Claire admitted, making sure we had food, supplies, everything we needed. He created this whole hidden apartment, soundproofed walls, separate ventilation, even a small kitchen and bathroom through that door on the left. I glanced to where she pointed and saw another door I hadn't noticed before. This wasn't just a room, it was a whole hidden living space. And the locks on his study door, I asked bitterly. To protect you, Claire said. Jason didn't want you involved. He knew if Marcus ever found out about us, anyone who knew we were here would be in danger. By keeping you in the dark, he was keeping you safe. Safe? I laughed harshly. I've spent 7 years thinking my husband was having an affair. I've lain awake nights wondering what was wrong with me, why he was so distant, why he locked himself away. I know, Claire whispered, and I'm so sorry. Every day I hear you through the walls. I hear you laugh, cry, call his name. I know I've stolen your husband in a way. Even though there's nothing romantic between us, I've hated myself for it." Little Ethan tugged on Claire's shirt. "Mommy, is the lady mad at us?" Claire picked him up, holding him close. "She has every right to be, baby." I looked at the child, innocent, unaware of the chaos his existence had caused. He didn't ask for any of this. Neither did Claire, really. And Jason had made an impossible choice. But that didn't make it okay. That didn't erase the betrayal, the lies, the years of my life stolen by secrets. "Where is Jason now?" I asked coldly. Claire checked a clock on the wall. "He should be home in about an hour. He always comes by around this time to check on us." "Of course he does," I muttered. Then a terrible thought struck me. Does he sleep here? With you?" "No," Claire said quickly. "Never. Angela, I promise you there's nothing like that between us. He's only ever been kind. He sleeps in your room, with you. This is just sanctuary. Nothing more." I wanted to believe her, but trust once broken doesn't come back easily. "I need to think," I said, backing toward the door. "I need to—" Suddenly, we all heard it. The front door of the house opening. Jason's voice calling out, "Angela? Honey, I'm home." Claire's eyes went wide. "He doesn't know you found us." My heart raced. After all these years, after all these lies, Jason was about to face the truth, and I had no idea what I was going to say to him. I heard Jason's footsteps climbing the stairs. "Angela," he called again, his voice getting closer. Claire grabbed my arm. "Please," she whispered urgently, "before you say anything, just remember that he saved our lives. Whatever you think of him, whatever you decide to do, he's a good man who made an impossible choice." I pulled my arm away. "That's not for you to decide," I said coldly. Jason's footsteps stopped outside his study door. I heard the lock click as he opened it with his key. "Angela, what are you doing in here? I thought I told you—" His voice died the moment he saw me standing in front of the open, hidden door. The color drained from his face. His briefcase slipped from his hand and hit the floor with a heavy thud. For several long seconds, nobody moved, nobody spoke. "Angela," he finally whispered, his voice filled with dread. "I can explain." "Can you?" I said, my voice shaking with fury and tears. "Can you explain 7 years of lies? Can you explain why there's another woman and child living in our house? Can you explain why you've been living a double life while I've been upstairs wondering what I did wrong?" "It's not what you think," he started. "Then what is it, Jason?" I screamed, and I saw Ethan flinch behind Claire. I lowered my voice, but the anger still burned. What could possibly justify this? Jason ran his hands through his hair, looking more broken than I'd ever seen him. He glanced at Claire, who nodded slightly, then back to me. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. "Privately?" "No," I said firmly. "Whatever you have to say, you can say it right here. I'm done with secrets." He took a deep breath and stepped into the hidden room. Seeing him there, in that space I never knew existed, made everything feel even more surreal. 8 years ago, I made a choice, he began. A choice that went against hospital policy, that could have cost me my career, maybe even my freedom, but I couldn't let a pregnant woman and her baby die just because she couldn't afford surgery. "Claire already told me that part," I interrupted. "Tell me why you brought her here. Why you lied to me for 7 years. Jason's jaw tightened. "Because the man who was after her? Marcus Devereaux? He's dangerous, Angela. More dangerous than you can imagine. I've seen what he does to people who cross him. I've treated his victims in the ER. When I found out he was hunting for Claire and the baby." He shook his head. "I couldn't just stand by." "So you decided to play hero? I asked bitterly. Without even telling your wife? I decided to save a woman and child from being murdered, Jason shot back, his own frustration breaking through. And yes, I kept it from you because the more you knew, the more danger you'd be in. If Marcus ever found out where Claire was, anyone who knew about it would become a target. I was trying to protect you. By lying to me every single day. Yes, he shouted, then caught himself. He lowered his voice. Yes, because I love you, Angela, and I couldn't bear the thought of you being hurt because of a choice I made. I felt tears streaming down my face. You should have trusted me, I said, my voice breaking. We're supposed to be partners, Jason. Husband and wife. You don't get to make decisions like this without me. You're right, he said, stepping closer. You're absolutely right. But Angela, what would you have done? If I had come to you 8 years ago and said, there's a woman and baby who will die if we don't hide them in our house, what would you have said? I opened my mouth to answer, but the words stuck in my throat, because honestly, I didn't know. Would I have said yes? Would I have been brave enough, selfless enough, to agree to harbor fugitives from a crime boss? I don't know, I admitted quietly. Exactly, Jason said, and I couldn't risk you saying no, because saying no meant death for them. So I made the choice for both of us, and I've carried that weight every single day since. The weight? I asked incredulously. What about my weight, Jason? What about lying next to me every night while I wondered why you were so distant? What about all the times I thought you were cheating, that you didn't love me anymore? You have no idea what these years have been like for me. I know, he said, his voice cracking. God, Angela, I know. I've seen it in your eyes, the doubt, the hurt. Every time you asked me why I was working late, every time you reached for me and I pulled away because I was drowning in guilt, it killed me. But what was I supposed to do? Tell you the truth and put you in danger? Or keep lying and watch our marriage slowly die? You should have found another way, I cried. There was no other way, Jason shouted back. I contacted every resource I could think of. Witness protection said they couldn't help without proof of a crime. The police had officers on Marcus's payroll. Private security was too expensive, and Claire had no money. Every legitimate option was blocked. This was the only way to keep them alive. Claire stood up, still holding Ethan. Stop, she said firmly. Both of you, just stop. Angela. Jason is telling the truth. I begged him to find another solution. I told him I'd rather take my chances on the street than destroy his marriage. But he insisted. He said he took an oath to protect life, and he wasn't going to break it just because it was hard. She walked toward me, her eyes pleading. I know I'm the reason your marriage has suffered. I know you have every right to hate me, but please don't blame Jason for trying to save us. He's the only reason my son is still alive. As if on cue, little Ethan looked at me with those big, innocent eyes. Are you Jason's wife? He asked in his small voice. I nodded, unable to speak. Jason talks about you all the time, Ethan said. He says you're the most beautiful and kind person in the world. He says he loves you more than anything. My heart shattered into a million pieces. I sank onto the couch, my head in my hands. Jason knelt in front of me, his eyes red. I know I've broken your trust, he said softly. I know I've hurt you in ways I can never take back. And if you want to leave me, I'll understand. I'll sign whatever papers you want, give you whatever you need. But Angela, please don't tell anyone about this. Please. Their lives depend on it. I looked up at him. Even now, even after everything, his first concern was protecting them. How long? I asked. How long were you planning to keep them here? Jason exchanged a glance with Claire. Marcus is sick, he said. Terminal cancer. He has maybe a year left according to his doctors. Once he's gone, his organization will fall apart. Claire and Ethan will finally be safe. They can have real lives again. 1 more year, I whispered. You want me to keep this secret for 1 more year? I'm not asking you to do anything, Jason said. I'm just telling you the truth. Finally, all of it. I looked around the hidden room at Claire, who had lived 7 years in hiding, never seeing the sun, never leaving this space, at Ethan, who had grown up in a secret world, unable to go to school or have friends, at Jason, who had sacrificed our marriage to protect them, and I thought about what kind of person I wanted to be. I need time, I finally said. I need to process all of this, alone. I stood up and walked toward the door. Jason stood too, reaching for me. Angela, please. Don't, I said, stopping him with a look. Don't touch me right now. I need time. I left the hidden room, walked through Jason's study, and went downstairs. My mind was spinning, my heart was breaking, and my entire world had been turned upside down. I grabbed my coat and keys. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay in that house another second. As I opened the front door, I heard Jason call my name from upstairs. But I didn't turn around. I got in my car and drove. I drove aimlessly for hours, my mind a hurricane of emotions. Betrayal, anger, confusion, and somewhere deep down, a tiny seed of understanding that I wasn't ready to acknowledge yet. I ended up at a 24-hour diner on the edge of town, the same diner Jason and I used to go to when we were dating, back when life was simple and full of promise. I ordered coffee I didn't drink and stared at my phone. Part of me wanted to call someone, my sister, my best friend, anyone. But what would I say? My husband has been hiding a woman and child in our house for 7 years. It sounded insane. And then there was the other part, the part that remembered Ethan's innocent face, the part that understood, however reluctantly, that Jason had been trying to save lives. But why did saving them have to mean destroying us? My phone buzzed, a text from Jason. I'm sorry for everything. I love you. Please come home when you're ready. I didn't respond. Around midnight, I finally started driving back, not because I'd forgiven him, but because I was exhausted and had nowhere else to go. When I pulled into our driveway, I noticed something odd. The front door was slightly ajar. My heart started pounding. I knew I'd closed it when I left. Jason was obsessive about locking doors, especially with his secrets. I approached slowly, quietly. As I got closer, I heard voices inside, unfamiliar voices. Through the crack in the door, I saw 2 men in our living room. They were big, wearing dark clothes, and one of them was holding a gun. I'm telling you, there's nothing here, Jason was saying, his voice strained. I don't know what you're talking about. One of the men grabbed Jason by the collar and slammed him against the wall. Don't lie to us, Doctor. We know she's here. Marcus knows she's here. We've been watching this house for weeks. My blood ran cold. Marcus's men. They'd found them. I stood frozen outside my own front door, my mind racing. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to call 911, to get help. But there wasn't time. If these men found the hidden room... I looked down at my phone, my finger hovering over the emergency call button. But then I heard one of the men say, "Search everywhere. Check every room, every closet, every corner. The boss wants that kid found tonight." They were going to find the hidden room. They were going to find Claire and Ethan. And if they did... I thought about little Ethan's face. His innocent question, "Are you Jason's wife?" I thought about Claire, who'd spent 7 years in hiding, sacrificing everything to protect her son. And I thought about Jason, who'd risked everything, his career, his freedom, his marriage, to save them. In that moment, I made a choice. I quietly pulled out my phone and sent a text to Jason. 2 men. Armed. I'm outside, creating distraction in 60 seconds. Then I did something crazy. I walked to my car, turned on the engine, and laid on the horn. The blaring sound cut through the night. I saw the lights in the house shift as the men reacted to the noise. I kept my hand on the horn, making as much noise as possible. One of the men appeared at the front door, his gun drawn. "Hey, get out of the car!" I threw the car in reverse and backed out of the driveway, still honking. The man ran toward me, shouting. That's when I saw Jason in the window, making frantic hand signals. He was telling me to lead them away. So I did. I peeled out of the driveway with both men now running toward a black SUV parked across the street. They jumped in and started following me. My hands shook on the steering wheel as I sped through our quiet neighborhood, running stop signs, taking random turns. The SUV stayed close behind me, its headlights blinding in my rearview mirror. I grabbed my phone and hit 911. 911, what's your emergency? I'm being followed by armed men, I screamed, giving them my location. They have guns! They attacked my husband. Please help. Ma'am, stay on the line. Units are being dispatched to your location. I kept driving, leading them farther and farther from the house. Away from Claire, away from Ethan, away from the hidden room. The SUV suddenly accelerated, pulling alongside me. I saw the passenger window roll down, saw the gun. I slammed on my brakes. The SUV shot past me, its tires squealing. I made a hard right turn, my car fishtailing. In the distance, I heard sirens. The SUV tried to circle back, but police cars were suddenly everywhere, their lights flashing, blocking the street. I pulled over, my whole body shaking, and watched as officers surrounded the SUV with guns drawn. It was over. The next few hours were a blur of police statements, paramedics, and flashing lights. I told the officers that 2 men had broken into our home and threatened my husband. I said I didn't know why, that it must have been a robbery attempt. I didn't mention Claire, I didn't mention Ethan, I didn't mention the hidden room, because in that moment, when I had to choose between exposing the truth or protecting innocent lives, I chose protection, just like Jason had. When I finally got back home, police were still there, taking photos and collecting evidence. Jason had a cut on his forehead where one of the men had hit him, but otherwise he was okay. Our eyes met across the room, and I saw something there I'd never seen before. Complete, overwhelming gratitude and love. After the police left, Jason and I stood in the hallway outside his study. The door was still closed, the secret still hidden. "They're okay," he whispered. "They hid in the bathroom behind a false wall I built. The men never found them." I nodded, not trusting my voice. "Angela," Jason started, but I held up my hand. "We need to talk," I said, "but not tonight. Tonight, I just need to sleep. Tomorrow we figure out what happens next." He nodded, understanding. "Where do you want me to sleep?" The question hung in the air. After everything, after all the lies and the fear and the chaos, where did we go from here? "Our bed," I said finally. "You sleep in our bed because you're still my husband, and I still love you, even though I'm furious and hurt, and I don't know if I can ever fully trust you again. I still love you." Tears ran down Jason's face. "I love you too, more than you'll ever know." We went to bed that night lying on opposite sides of the mattress, not touching, barely breathing, but we were together. And sometimes, that's all you can ask for. I woke up to sunlight streaming through the bedroom window and the smell of coffee brewing downstairs. For a moment, I forgot everything that had happened. But then it all came rushing back. The hidden room, Claire, Ethan, the men with guns, the car chase. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, wondering how my life had become something out of a thriller movie. Jason appeared in the doorway, 2 mugs of coffee in his hands. His face was bruised and he moved stiffly. "Good morning," he said quietly, offering me a mug. I sat up and took it, letting the warmth seep into my hands. "Is it, though?" He sat on the edge of the bed. "The police called." "The 2 men are in custody. They're not talking, but detectives found weapons, surveillance equipment, and a file with photos of our house." My stomach dropped. How long were they watching us? "At least 3 weeks, they think. They had pictures of me coming and going, pictures of you." He paused. "Angela, if you hadn't come home when you did, if you hadn't led them away, they would have found the room. They would have found Ethan." "Don't," I said. "Don't make me a hero in this. I'm not. I'm just trying to survive this nightmare you created." Jason flinched, but he nodded. "You're right. And we need to talk about what happens now." "Yes," I agreed. "We do." Before we could continue, there was a soft knock on the bedroom door. We both froze. "Jason," Claire's voice came through. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think you both should see this." Jason and I exchanged glances, then followed her to the study and through the hidden door. Claire had the small TV on. The news was playing. "Breaking news this morning as federal authorities have arrested Marcus Devereaux and 17 members of his organization in a coordinated raid across Chicago. Sources say the arrests stem from an investigation that began when 2 of Devereaux's associates were captured last night following an attempted home invasion. Those men, seeking reduced sentences, have begun cooperating with authorities." We watched in stunned silence as footage played of Marcus Devereaux being led away in handcuffs, his face twisted in rage. "It's over," Claire whispered, tears streaming down her face. "After 8 years, it's finally over." Ethan tugged on his mother's shirt. "Mommy, can we go outside now? Can I see the sun?" Claire collapsed to her knees, hugging her son and sobbing. "Yes, baby. Yes, you can see the sun." I felt Jason's hand slip into mine. I didn't pull away. The next few days were surreal. With Marcus and his organization dismantled, Claire and Ethan were finally free. But freedom, we discovered, was complicated. Claire had no identification, at least not under her real name. She'd been living off the grid for so long that officially, she barely existed. Ethan had never been registered for school, never seen a doctor, never had a birthday party with other children. Jason worked with his lawyer to help Claire navigate the legal maze of reclaiming her life. It would take time, paperwork, and patience, but it was possible. Meanwhile, I had my own maze to navigate: my marriage. One evening, about a week after everything happened, Jason and I sat in our backyard. It was the first time we'd been truly alone since that night. "I've been thinking," I started, "about what you said, about making an impossible choice." Jason listened silently. "I've been angry because you didn't trust me enough to tell me," I continued. "But the truth is, I don't know what I would have done if you'd asked me 8 years ago. Maybe I would have said yes. Maybe I would have said no. But I understand now that you were trying to protect everyone. Claire, Ethan, and me." "That doesn't make it right," Jason said. "I should have found a way to include you." "To trust you with the truth?" "Yes," I agreed, "you should have." And that's the part I'm still working through. Because even though I understand why you did it, the lies still hurt. The distance still hurt. Feeling like I wasn't enough, like I'd failed you somehow, that hurt most of all. Jason turned to face me, taking my hands. "Angela, listen to me. You never failed me. Not once. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. And every day I lied to you. Every day I saw the pain in your eyes and couldn't explain it. It destroyed me. I know I broke your trust. I know I damaged us. But if you'll let me, I want to spend the rest of my life earning that trust back." I looked into his eyes, the eyes of the man I'd married, the man I'd loved for so long. "It won't be easy," I said. "I'm going to have questions. I'm going to have doubts. There are going to be days when I'm angry all over again." "I know," he said, "and I'll answer every question. I'll face every doubt. I'll sit with you through the anger, whatever it takes. And no more secrets," I said firmly. "Ever. About anything. No more secrets," he promised. I took a deep breath. "Okay, then let's try. Let's try to rebuild this." Jason pulled me into his arms, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I let myself relax against him. Claire and Ethan moved out 2 months later. Jason helped set her up in a small apartment across town, helped her get proper identification, and connected her with resources to help Ethan catch up on the childhood he'd missed. The day they left, I stood in the doorway of the hidden room, the room that had held so many secrets, and watched as they packed their few belongings. Ethan ran up to me and hugged my legs. "Thank you for keeping us safe," he said. I bent down to his level. "You're welcome, sweetheart. You're going to have a wonderful life now." Claire approached, tears in her eyes. "Angela, I don't know how to thank you. After everything I put you through." "You didn't put me through anything," I interrupted. "This situation, it happened to all of us, and we survived it. That's what matters." She hugged me tightly. "You're a remarkable woman. Jason is lucky to have you." "I know," I said, and we both laughed through our tears. After they left, Jason and I stood in the empty hidden room. "What should we do with this space?" I asked. Jason looked around. "Whatever you want. It's your house, too. It always was." I thought for a moment. "Let's turn it into something good. Something that brings life instead of hiding it. Maybe a reading room or an art studio?" Jason smiled. "I think that's perfect." Over the next few months, we renovated the space together. We tore down the soundproofing, let in natural light, and painted the walls bright colors. We added bookshelves and comfortable chairs. It became our favorite room in the house. A year after I discovered the hidden door, Jason and I were sitting in what we now called the sunroom, reading together on a lazy Sunday afternoon. My phone rang. It was Claire. "Angela, I have news." "What is it?" I asked, putting her on speaker so Jason could hear. "Ethan got into the gifted program at his school, and I got promoted at work. We're doing it, Angela. We're really living a normal, happy life." Jason and I exchanged smiles. "That's amazing, Claire. We're so happy for you. We're having a little celebration next Saturday. Can you both come? Ethan has been asking about you." "We'll be there," I promised. After we hung up, Jason set down his book and looked at me. "Are we okay?" he asked. "Really okay?" I thought about the question. Were we okay? Had we fully healed from everything that happened? "We're getting there," I said honestly. "Some days are harder than others. Sometimes I still think about all the years we lost to secrets, but then I think about what we gained. The knowledge that when things get truly impossible, we can survive it together. That means something." Jason's phone suddenly buzzed. He glanced at it and his face went pale. "What is it?" I asked, my heart already starting to race. He showed me the screen. It was a text from an unknown number. "Marcus says hello from prison." This isn't over. My blood turned to ice. How is that possible? Marcus is in federal prison. He has people on the outside, Jason said, his voice tight. I knew this was a possibility. That's why I've been checking over my shoulder every day for the past year. You've been checking? I asked, fear mixing with anger. Jason, you told me it was over. You promised no more secrets. I didn't want to scare you, he started, but I cut him off. We talked about this. No more protecting me by keeping me in the dark. Before he could respond, my phone rang. It was Claire, and her voice was panicked. Angela, someone's been following me. A black car has been outside Ethan's school for the past 3 days. I thought I was being paranoid, but then today I found this on my car. Found what? A note. It says, he sees you. Jason grabbed the phone from my hand. Claire, listen to me carefully. Pack a bag for you and Ethan right now. Take only what you can carry in 5 minutes. We're coming to get you. Jason, what's happening? Claire's voice was shaking. Marcus has connections we didn't know about. He's sending a message. We need to move. Now. He hung up and turned to me. Angela, I need you to trust me one more time. Trust you? I said incredulously. Jason, this is exactly what you said was over. You told me we were safe. I thought we were, he said, already moving toward the bedroom. Marcus was supposed to die in prison. His organization was supposed to be scattered, but I just found out. He's been running things from inside, and now he knows Claire testified against him. She testified? I gasped. When? 6 months ago. The FBI came to her, said they needed her testimony to keep him locked up for life. She didn't want to do it, but they convinced her it was the only way to keep Ethan safe. And you didn't think to tell me this? Jason stopped, his eyes filled with regret and fear. I thought I was protecting you. Again. I know I said no more secrets, but Angela, the less you knew, the safer you'd be. That's not how this works, I shouted. We're married. We're supposed to face things together. You're right, he said, pulling a duffel bag from the closet. And I'm sorry. But right now, we don't have time to argue. We need to get Claire and Ethan, and we need to disappear until I can figure out what to do. Disappear? I whispered. Jason, we can't just disappear. We have lives, jobs, a home. Which won't matter if we're dead, he said bluntly. Angela, I've been preparing for this possibility. I have money set aside, fake IDs, a safe house in Wisconsin that no one knows about. I hoped we'd never need it, but fake IDs? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How long have you been planning this? Since the day Claire agreed to testify, he admitted. I knew there was a chance Marcus would retaliate. I couldn't take that risk. My head was spinning. Once again, Jason had been living a double life, preparing for a disaster I knew nothing about. But there was no time to process it, because suddenly we heard the sound of breaking glass downstairs. Someone was in our house. Jason's eyes went wide. He grabbed my arm and pulled me into the closet, closing the door as quietly as possible. In the darkness, I could feel his heart pounding as hard as mine. We heard heavy footsteps on the stairs. Multiple people, at least 3, maybe more. Search every room, a deep voice commanded. The boss wants proof they got the message. Jason's hand found mine in the dark. He squeezed it 3 times, our old signal from when we were dating. It meant, I love you. I squeezed back, tears streaming down my face, because I realized in that moment that no matter how angry I was, no matter how many secrets he'd kept, I couldn't lose him. The footsteps got closer. We heard them in our bedroom, throwing things around, opening drawers. Then the closet door flew open. A man with a scar across his face stood there, gun drawn. He smiled when he saw us. Well, well. The doctor and his wife. Marcus is going to be so pleased. Jason stepped in front of me. Leave her out of this. She has nothing to do with any of it. Oh, but she does now, the man said. See, Marcus wants everyone who helped that traitor to suffer. And that includes you, Mrs. Doctor. He grabbed Jason by the shirt and yanked him out of the closet. 2 more men appeared, grabbing me. Where's the woman and the kid? One of them demanded. I don't know what you're talking about, Jason said. The scarred man hit him hard across the face. Don't lie to us. We know you've been in contact. We've been watching for months, waiting for the right moment. Now tell us where they are, or your wife pays the price. He pointed his gun at me. Jason's face was bleeding, but his eyes were fierce. Touch her and you'll regret it. The man laughed. Bold words for someone with no leverage. That's when we heard sirens in the distance. The men froze. Boss? One of them said into a radio. A voice crackled back. Abort! Get out now! They looked at each other, then at us. The scarred man leaned close to Jason. This isn't over. Tell Claire that Marcus has patience. He can wait years if he has to. And when he gets out, everyone pays. Then they were gone, disappearing down the stairs and out the back door, just as police cars screeched to a stop in front of our house. 2 hours later, we were at the police station giving statements, but I could tell Jason was holding back, not telling them everything. When the detective left to get us coffee, I grabbed his arm. What aren't you telling them? Jason glanced around to make sure we were alone. If I tell them everything, they'll put us in witness protection. Separate us from Claire and Ethan. Lock us in a system where Marcus's connections could find us. So what's your plan? We run, he said simply. Tonight, all 4 of us. We disappear completely until I can find a way to end this for good. End this how, Jason? Marcus is in prison. He has an entire organization. Jason interrupted. When his men were arrested last year, most of his operation fell apart. There are only a handful of loyalists left, and they're scared, desperate. That makes them dangerous, but also vulnerable. I stared at him. What are you planning? Before he could answer, his phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. You have 48 hours to bring Claire to us. Or we start killing everyone you've ever cared about, starting with your sister in Seattle. My blood ran cold. Jason had a younger sister, Emma, who lived in Seattle with her husband and 2 kids. They can't be serious, I whispered. Jason's jaw clenched. They're very serious. Marcus doesn't make empty threats. Then we call the FBI. The FBI can't protect everyone, Angela. Not my sister, not Claire, not Ethan, not you. Not all at once. He looked at me with determination in his eyes. But I can. How? By giving them what they want. My heart stopped. You can't mean... I'm going to give them Claire, Jason said. Or rather, they'll think I am. We left the police station and drove straight to Claire's apartment. She was already packed, Ethan scared and confused in her arms. What's happening? She asked as soon as we walked in. The police came by, said there was an incident at your house. Marcus's people found us, Jason said, and they're looking for you. We have 48 hours. Claire's face went white. Then I need to turn myself in. I can't let you all be hurt because of me. You're not turning yourself in, Jason said firmly, because I have a plan. He laid it out for us. It was risky, possibly insane, but it might work. Jason had a contact, a former patient who owed him a favor, a big favor. This man, Tony, had connections in the criminal underworld, not with Marcus's organization, but with a rival family that wanted Marcus's remaining power for themselves. We're going to stage a handoff, Jason explained. Make Marcus's people think I'm giving them Claire. But Tony's people will be there, waiting. They'll take out Marcus's men and send a message that anyone still loyal to Marcus will face consequences. That's insane, I said. Jason, you're a doctor, not some criminal mastermind. What if it goes wrong? If it goes wrong, we're no worse off than we are now, he said. But if it works, Marcus loses his last connections on the outside. Without them, he's just a dying man in a cell. Claire was shaking her head. I can't ask you to do this. It's too dangerous. You're not asking, Jason said. I'm doing it. Because 8 years ago, I saved your life, and I'll be damned if I let Marcus take it now. He turned to me. Angela, I need you to take Ethan to the safe house in Wisconsin. Keep him safe until this is over. Absolutely not, I said. We're not splitting up. If you're doing this, I'm coming with you. Angela, no, I said firmly. No more protecting me by pushing me away. No more secrets, no more separate plans. We face this together, or not at all. Jason looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. Together. Claire spoke up. What about Ethan? I can't bring him to... I'll take him, a voice said from the doorway. We all spun around. Standing there was a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and a determined expression. Mrs. Chen, Jason said in surprise. How did you... I'm your neighbor, doctor, she said. You think I didn't notice the strange visitors, the police cars, the worried looks? I may be old, but I'm not blind. She looked at Ethan. This boy needs to be somewhere safe. I have a cabin in northern Michigan. My son is a state trooper. No one will find him there. Claire looked torn. I don't know if... Sweetheart, Mrs. Chen said gently, I lost my daughter to a violent man 20 years ago. I couldn't save her, but I can save this boy. Let me help. Tears streamed down Claire's face as she hugged Ethan tight. Mommy has to go away for a little while, baby. But you're going to stay with Mrs. Chen, and she's going to keep you safe. I don't want you to go, Ethan cried. I know, baby. I know, but I promise I'll come back for you. I will always come back for you. Watching them say goodbye was heartbreaking, but it was necessary. After Mrs. Chen left with Ethan, the three of us sat in silence for a moment. So, I said finally, how do we do this? Jason pulled out his phone. First, I make a call. Then, we set the trap. The exchange was set for midnight at an abandoned warehouse near the docks. Cliché, yes, but that was the point. Marcus's people expected Jason to be desperate and stupid. They had no idea what they were walking into. Tony's people had been preparing all day. Hidden cameras, escape routes, armed backup in positions Marcus's thugs would never see coming. But even with all that preparation, my stomach was in knots. You don't have to do this, Jason said to Claire as we drove to the location. We can find another way. No, Claire said quietly. This ends tonight. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of that monster controlling my life from a prison cell. She looked out the window at the city lights passing by. 8 years ago, you saved my life, Jason. Tonight, I'm helping you save yours. We arrived at the warehouse at 11:45 p.m. Tony's people were already in position, invisible in the shadows. We had earpieces so we could communicate. Remember, Tony's voice came through, when Marcus's people show up, act scared. Act desperate. Make them think you're beaten. When I give the signal, a car horn twice, everyone hit the ground. My hands were shaking. Jason noticed and took one in his. If anything goes wrong, you run. Don't look back. Don't wait for me. Just run. Promise me. I'm not promising that, I said. Angela, we're in this together, I said firmly. Whatever happens. At 11:58, headlights appeared. 2 cars pulled into the warehouse parking lot. 6 men got out, all armed. The scarred man from our house was leading them. When he saw us standing there with Claire, he smiled. Well, well. The good doctor came through after all. Smart man. Jason stepped forward. I brought her, like you asked. Now leave my family alone. Oh, we will, the man said, walking toward Claire. Once Marcus has what he wants, you'll never hear from us again. He was lying. I could see it in his eyes. Even if we gave them Claire, they'd kill us all to tie up loose ends. The man reached for Claire's arm. That's when everything went wrong. One of Marcus's men suddenly spun around, gun raised. "We've got company," he shouted. Gunfire erupted from the shadows. Tony's people had been spotted. The careful plan fell apart in seconds. "Get down!" Jason screamed, pulling me behind a car. Claire dove beside us as bullets pinged off metal. Marcus's men were firing in all directions, trying to figure out where the attack was coming from. "We need to move!" Tony's voice crackled in our earpieces. "Getting to the exit is going to be—" The sound cut off. Something had happened to our communication. Jason looked at me and Claire. "When I say go, we run for that door on the east side. Don't stop. Don't look back." "What about you?" I asked. "I'll be right behind you." "Go." We ran. I heard Jason behind us, heard him grunt as something hit him. I turned back. "Keep going," he shouted. Claire grabbed my arm and pulled me forward. We burst through the door into an alley. Behind us, the gunfire continued. "Jason!" I screamed, trying to go back, but Claire held me. "We can't help him if we're dead," she said, even though tears were streaming down her face, too. We ran through the alleys, not knowing where we were going, just knowing we had to get away. Behind us, we heard sirens. Police were coming. Finally, we collapsed behind a dumpster, gasping for breath. "We have to go back," I panted. "We have to find—" My phone rang. I answered without looking at the caller ID. "Angela." It was Jason's voice, but something was wrong. He sounded weak, pained. "Jason! Where are you? Are you hurt?" "Listen to me," he said. "The plan failed. Marcus's people, they got away. Some of them. And they have Tony." "What? How?" "It doesn't matter. What matters is that they know about Mrs. Chen. They know about Ethan." My blood turned to ice. How could they possibly— One of Tony's people was on Marcus's payroll, a double agent. They've known everything from the beginning. He coughed, and I heard pain in it. "Angela, you need to get to Ethan before they do." "Where are you?" "I'm coming to get you first." "There's no time. Mrs. Chen's cabin is 4 hours north. If you leave now, you might get there first. I'll meet you there as soon as I can." "Jason, please." "I love you," he said. "Now go." Save that boy? The line went dead. Claire and I looked at each other, both of us terrified. "We need a car," she said. We hot-wired a car in a parking garage, something I never thought I'd do in my life, but desperate times called for desperate measures. Claire, it turned out, had learned a few skills during her years with Marcus. As we sped north on the highway, I tried calling Jason back. No answer. I tried Mrs. Chen. No answer. I tried everyone I could think of. Nothing. "We're going to make it," Claire said, though I could hear the doubt in her voice. "We have to make it." I looked at the clock on the dashboard. 2:47 a.m. We'd been driving for almost 2 hours. 2 hours to go. My phone finally rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Hello? Mrs. Montgomery." It was the scarred man. "You've been very naughty running off like that." "Where's my husband?" I demanded. "Your husband is indisposed at the moment. Took a bullet in the shoulder. Nothing fatal, but painful, I'm sure. We're taking very good care of him. If you hurt him—" "You're not in a position to make threats, Mrs. Montgomery, but I am. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to bring Claire to the address I'm about to text you. You're going to do it within the next 3 hours. And if you do, maybe your husband lives. Maybe that little boy in northern Michigan lives too." "You don't know where he is," I said, praying it was true. The man laughed. "Mrs. Chen's cabin on Lake Superior? The one her late husband built in 1987? The one her son visits every summer? Oh, we know exactly where it is. And we have people heading there right now." He hung up. The text came through. An address in Milwaukee, less than an hour from where we were. Claire was shaking. "They have Jason. They know about Ethan. Angela, what do we do? I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My mind raced through options, scenarios, possibilities. We split up, I said finally. What? You go to Milwaukee. Turn yourself in. Buy time. Angela, they'll kill me. Not if you record everything, I said, thinking fast. Use your phone to live stream the whole thing. Send it to every news outlet, every police department, everyone. If Marcus's people kill you on camera, it's over for them. Marcus will have no leverage left. That's insane, Claire said. And what will you do? I'm going to get Ethan, and then I'm going to find my husband. How? I looked at her. I have no idea, but I'm going to figure it out. We pulled over at a rest stop. Claire and I looked at each other, both of us knowing this might be the last time we saw each other. Thank you, she said quietly, for everything. For not hating me. For protecting Ethan. For... Don't, I said. Don't say goodbye. Because we're both going to survive this. You're going to see your son again. I'm going to see my husband again. We're going to win. She hugged me tight. You're the strongest person I've ever met, Angela. No, I said. You are. Now go. And remember, live stream everything. She got out of the car and started walking toward the highway to flag down a ride. I watched her go, praying I'd made the right choice. Then I turned the car north and floored it. I reached the cabin at 4:23 a.m. The sun was just starting to rise, casting an eerie orange glow over the lake. Everything looked peaceful. Too peaceful. I approached slowly, quietly. The cabin door was ajar. My heart sank. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The place was ransacked, furniture overturned, drawers dumped out. Mrs. Chen? I called out softly. Ethan? No answer. I moved through the cabin, checking every room. In the back bedroom, I found Mrs. Chen tied to a chair, unconscious but breathing. I rushed over and untied her, gently shaking her awake. Mrs. Chen! Where's Ethan? Her eyes fluttered open. Angela? Oh, thank God, she coughed. They came, 2 men. They took him. When? Maybe 20 minutes ago. I heard them on the phone. They said something about a boat, the marina. I helped her to her feet. Call 911. Tell them everything. I'm going to get Ethan. Be careful, she said, grabbing my arm. These men, they're monsters. I know, I said. But I'm a mother fighting for a child. And that makes me scarier. I ran out of the cabin and toward the marina 1/2 mile down the road. My lungs burned, my legs ached, but I didn't stop. As I got closer, I saw it. A boat at the far dock, 2 men loading a small figure onto it. Ethan. I didn't think. I just ran. Ethan! I screamed. The men turned. One of them pulled a gun. The other started the boat's engine. I was still 50 yards away. They were going to get away. Then I heard it. Sirens. Police cars were racing down the road toward the marina, lights flashing. The man with the gun panicked. He fired at me. The bullet hit the dock next to my feet, splintering wood. I dove behind a boat, my heart hammering. More gunshots. But these weren't aimed at me. The police had arrived and were firing at the men. One of the men fell. The other raised his hands in surrender, and Ethan, terrified but alive, ran off the boat toward me. I caught him in my arms, holding him so tight I was afraid I'd hurt him. He was crying, shaking, but he was alive. It's okay, I whispered. You're safe now. You're safe. Police swarmed the dock, securing the scene. An officer approached me. Ma'am, are you Angela Montgomery? I nodded, still holding Ethan. We got an anonymous tip about this location, he said. Someone sent us GPS coordinates and said a child was in danger. Who sent it? I asked. The officer showed me his phone. The text had come from Jason's number. Somehow, even captured, even hurt, Jason had found a way to save Ethan. "Where's my husband?" I asked. "He's been taken by—" "We know, ma'am," the officer said. "We're working on locating him now. In the meantime, you and the boy need to come with us, for your protection." As they led us toward a police car, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You win this round." But Marcus never forgets. This isn't over. I looked at the message, then at Ethan in my arms, then at the sunrise over the lake. Let them come, I thought. I'm not afraid anymore. Because I had learned something through this nightmare. I was stronger than I ever imagined, and I would protect this family, my family, no matter what it took. Now I just had to find Jason and end this once and for all.